Before the world knew, there was a secret buried deep in the shadows of history. A secret that could shatter everything you thought you knew about creation itself. Fallen angels, a rebellion that shook the very fabric of the universe. It wasn't just a celestial war, it was a divine betrayal that created the Nephilim, monstrous giants who walked the earth with a hunger that consumed everything in their path. Imagine for a moment, angels, beings of light and power sent to protect humanity, turning their backs on their sacred duties. Seduced by the beauty of human women, these watchers chose to defy their creator. But this wasn't just an act of rebellion. It was a catastrophic sin, a betrayal so profound that it twisted the very bloodline of mankind. And from this sin, the Nephilim were born, beings so powerful, so terrifying, they threatened to destroy everything. But why? Why did these angels fall? And what did they create in their wake? Was it all part of a divine plan, or was it an accidental rupture in the fabric of creation? What was hidden from humanity for centuries? Could the Bible have been trying to tell us something far more dangerous than we realize? In this video, we'll uncover the shocking truth about the fallen angels, the Nephilim, and the cosmic rebellion that altered the course of human history. We'll dive deep into the forbidden knowledge that has been kept hidden for millennia, knowledge that could change everything you've been taught to believe. You're about to understand why this story of the Watchers' rebellion and their offspring, the giants, isn't just ancient lore, but a cosmic warning. Get ready to see how divine judgment reshaped the world forever. By the end of this journey, you'll never look at the Bible or the Nephilim the same way again. Comment below with your thoughts on these giants. Were they divine beings, or was there something much darker at play? And if you haven't already, like and subscribe for more insights into the secrets of the universe that history tried to erase. The fallen angels, a divine betrayal that shattered creation. In the beginning, heaven was a realm of unimaginable purity and light. But what if I told you that divine betrayal, a cosmic act of rebellion, split the very foundation of creation? The Watchers, celestial beings sent to guide humanity, turned their backs on their sacred duties, defying God's divine law in pursuit of their desires. What led these angels to abandon their divine purpose and descend upon earth? It all began with the beauty of the human women, pure, innocent, captivating. The Watchers, entrusted with the safety of humankind, saw something they were never meant to see, and in that moment, a forbidden desire sparked within them. Lust began to take root, and their purpose was corrupted by their own inner turmoil. But this wasn't just a fleeting weakness. No, this was a rebellion, a choice so profound it altered the course of history. Shemihazah, the leader of these angels, feared the consequences of this rebellion. But instead of repentance, he gathered his fellow fallen angels, the Watchers, and swore an oath to one another on Mount Hermon. This sacred mountain became the site of their betrayal, where these angels forsook their heavenly purpose and descended into the earthly realm. They sought to reshape the world in their image, to corrupt humanity for their own selfish gain. But this betrayal wasn't just about lust. Another angel, Azazel, took a different path. He sought to bestow humanity with forbidden knowledge, the secrets of the heavens, the art of war, and the desire for beauty that would stir chaos in the hearts of mankind. The Book of Enoch reveals the full extent of their fall. Swords, shield, cosmetics, and magic, gifts that were never meant for humans, were unleashed, breaking the bond between the divine and the mortal. With every secret shared, humanity's dependency on divine guidance was severed, leaving them vulnerable to a darkness they were never prepared to face. But what did this mean for humanity? The Watchers didn't just corrupt the humans they encountered. They contaminated creation itself. The bloodline of humanity was forever tainted, and from this unholy union, a new race emerged, the Nephilim, giants of unimaginable strength and hunger. The Nephilim were no ordinary beings. born of angels and women, their very existence was a violation of divine law, a perversion of the intended order of creation. Their size, their power, and their thirst for destruction tore through the earth like a whirlwind. These giants roamed the earth, their hunger insatiable, their violence limitless. The world had become a place of terror, where even the divine guardians had turned into devouring beasts. How did the world respond to this cosmic catastrophe? The cries of the oppressed reached the heavens, and divine judgment was inevitable. The earth could no longer sustain this corruption. The flood, a cleansing flood, was coming, and it would wipe away the wickedness and the abomination the Watchers had created. But the judgment didn't stop there. The Watchers, who had once been beings of light, were now bound by eternal chains, trapped in the darkest corners of the earth. Is this divine punishment or divine mercy? Could their rebellion ever be forgiven? According to the Book of Jude and the Book of Enoch, the answer was no. The fallen angels had crossed a line that could never be undone. Their imprisonment was their fate, forever condemned to watch the destruction of their own children, the Nephilim, who would also face their own judgment. But here's where the story takes a dark turn. While the flood annihilated the Nephilim physically, it did not erase their evil. Their spirits, tainted by both the physical and the spiritual, could not pass into the afterlife. Instead, their souls remained, forever roaming the earth as malevolent spirits, what we now call demons. Imagine the horror. Spiritual beings so powerful that their very essence could never be destroyed. The Nephilim, the offspring of these rebellious angels, became the embodiment of everything that had gone wrong in creation. And these spirits didn't simply disappear. They haunted the earth, tormenting mankind for generations to come. They became demonic forces, the very source of evil that has plagued the world since the beginning. So what does this mean for you and me today? This isn't just an ancient story, but a lesson in the consequences of rebellion, the danger of forbidden knowledge, and the eternal battle between good and evil. The Nephilim were not merely giant monsters. They were a reminder that the spiritual realm holds unimaginable power, and when that power is used for evil, it leads to destruction. The angels who turned their backs on their divine calling didn't just betray God, they betrayed all of humanity. And from that betrayal, a curse was unleashed that still lingers today. The story of the Watchers and the Nephilim is a warning, a reminder that divine boundaries cannot be crossed without consequence. But there is hope. Despite the darkness, there is a light, a truth that calls us to resist temptation, to seek understanding, and to turn our hearts back to the divine source of all creation. So, what can we learn from this ancient betrayal? The answer lies in understanding the spiritual battle that surrounds us, choosing to stand firm in our faith, and to seek guidance from the divine rather than turning to the forbidden knowledge that tempts us. The Nephilim were a testimony to the destructive power of unchecked desire and the consequences of divine lawlessness. But their legacy doesn't have to be our fate. The fallen angels who created giants did so with an act of rebellion that was meant to rearrange creation itself. Yet, in the end, their actions brought only destruction and suffering, and a long-lasting lesson for humanity. So I ask you, what does this mean for us today? Will we fall into the same traps, or will we stand against the rebellion of the Watchers and reclaim what was lost? The unholy union, the birth of the Nephilim. Picture this, a forbidden alliance, a cosmic collision of divine and human, where the sacred and the profane come together to create something monstrous. The Watchers, angels meant to guide and protect, decided to abandon their heavenly mission. Their rebellion wasn't just against the laws of heaven, it was against the very fabric of creation. What happens when the divine reaches beyond its boundary? The answer is a race of giants born from an unholy union of celestial beings and mortal women. The Nephilim were not just giants in size, they were giants in destruction, violence, and greed. Imagine a being so massive, so powerful, that it shattered everything in its path. A force that hungered, that thirsted for more than the earth could give. The Nephilim weren't just monsters, they were a perversion of creation itself, the ultimate consequence of a cosmic betrayal. The bloodline of humanity was forever tainted, the divine no longer holding sway. And with this act of rebellion, the very order of the world began to break down. These giants didn't just walk the earth, they ravaged it, consuming every resource, leaving destruction in their wake. Their greed knew no bounds, and soon the earth couldn't sustain them any longer. The Nephilim began to devour each other. Their hunger so great, they turned on one another in a desperate fight for survival. The corruption of the divine spilled over into humanity, and the world trembled under the weight of this unholy creation. But what if I told you that their story didn't end there? Their power and influence didn't just vanish in the winds of time. The Nephilim were a plague, a curse that would be passed down through the ages. And in their wake, they left a trail of demons, spirits of the fallen giants who continued to haunt the earth long after their bodies had crumbled into dust. The very souls of these giants remained, trapped in the mortal world, wreaking havoc wherever they went. These spirits didn't just linger, they infected everything, twisting and corrupting those who crossed their path. As we dive deeper into their legacy, we find that their influence stretches far beyond the stories we've been told. They shaped not only the ancient world, but they've left their mark on the spiritual realm. These demons are the beacons of destruction, still causing chaos today, still twisting the hearts of mankind. What was the true lesson the Nephilim were meant to teach us? Was it about the danger of crossing divine boundaries? Or was it a warning, a reminder of the power of rebellion and the cost of divine disobedience? The divine judgment, the flood that washed away the evil. Now the flood, a cleansing, a judgment so fierce, so final, that it would sweep away the evil of the Nephilim and their parents, the Watchers. It wasn't just about the wickedness of humanity. It was about eradicating the very corruption the Watchers had brought into the world. The earth had been stained by their betrayal, and the only way to cleanse it was through divine wrath. The flood came as a great and terrible purification meant to wash the earth clean of the taint that had been spread by these rebellious angels. And yet the punishment was not over. The Watchers, those fallen angels who had abandoned their duty, were not simply destroyed. No, their fate was much worse. They were bound in chains, trapped in darkness for eternity, their cries lost to the void. These angels, once shining beings of light, were now prisoners, their punishment a stark reminder of the cost of betrayal. The Nephilim, the physical embodiment of this divine transgression, were wiped from existence, their towering forms swallowed by the great flood. But the earth, despite its purification, could never truly be free. The spirits of the Nephilim, those twisted remnants of once mighty beings, would not be laid to rest. Instead, they remained trapped on earth as malevolent spirits, now known as demons. They became the dark forces that still haunt humanity today, their very essence a reminder of the cosmic sin that led to their creation. So, what does this teach us? The divine judgment wasn't just about punishing the fallen angels and their children. It was about restoring order, about ensuring that chaos didn't reign over the world forever. The flood was an act of mercy, a cleansing of the earth, but it was also a warning that there are forces greater than we can understand, and when divine law is violated, the consequences are devastating. In the end, the flood didn't just destroy the evil, it preserved the world's chance for redemption, and in that, there is a lesson for us all. We are constantly faced with choices that can either lead us to restoration or ruin. Just as the flood purified the earth, so too can we choose to purify our own hearts and lives. It's not too late. The divine mercy is still here, calling us back to the light, reminding us that no matter how great the fall, there is always a chance for redemption. What are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you ignore the lessons of the Nephilim, or will you choose to rise above the darkness, embracing the light and grace that can restore your soul? The choice is yours. The legacy of the Nephilim. A world forever changed. After the flood, the earth should have been clean, purified from the horrors of the Nephilim. But as the waters receded and the world began anew, there was an undeniable truth that echoed through the pages of history. The Nephilim were not completely gone. The flood may have washed away their monstrous forms, but their spirit, the darkness they brought into the world, still lingered. The giants were gone, but their legacy of fear, power, and destruction remained. And so the Nephilim didn't disappear as easily as we'd like to believe. They left behind a mark that would never fade, a mark of terror, a mark of corruption. As the centuries passed, the giants' influence seeped into the world like poison, spreading through humanity's very veins. Their legacy wasn't just in the giants they created, but in the forces of darkness they unleashed. In the Book of Numbers, we see an unsettling passage. We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Enoch. These were giants, living long after the flood, in a land that would one day become the Promised Land. The question isn't just how did they survive, it's why were they still there? Were these giants the descendants of the original Nephilim, born again through a new generation of rebellion? Or were they the final remnants of a cursed bloodline that refused to die? As these giants, these descendants of Anak, roamed the earth, their power and their intimidation grew. They became the fear of nations, the ones who crushed armies underfoot, the ones who made even the mightiest warriors tremble. For the Israelites, the giants were not just enemies. They were the very embodiment of all the evil that had once roamed the earth. They were the physical manifestation of a world gone wrong, a world tainted by cosmic rebellion. But here's the thing, the giants weren't just monsters. They were symbols. They were the final remnant of the Watcher's great betrayal, and they represented something much darker. The never-ending battle between good and evil, between those who chose to honor divine law and those who sought to destroy it. The Nephilim, long after their physical destruction, would forever leave their fingerprints on humanity's fight against the forces of darkness. The final battle, David versus Goliath. And then there was Goliath, the last and greatest giant to walk the earth, born from the same bloodline of corruption and rebellion that the Nephilim had begun. Standing at an unbelievable height, Goliath was the epitome of everything the Nephilim represented: fear, destruction, and violence. But David, a simple shepherd boy filled with the power of God, rose to face him, defying the odds in a battle that would become one of the most iconic moments in history. In the world's eyes, Goliath was invincible. He was the ultimate weapon, the physical manifestation of an ancient curse, and yet David, a mere boy, took him down with a single stone. Why? Because David understood something that the giants could never grasp. He understood that true power doesn't come from size, from strength, or from violence. True power comes from faith, from obedience to the divine, from the belief that the light of God can defeat the darkness, no matter how mighty it appears. David's victory was more than just the defeat of a giant. It was the symbolic end of an age-old conflict. It was the ultimate triumph of good over evil, the moment when light overcame the darkness that the Nephilim and their legacy had cast upon the earth. With every swing of that slingshot, David didn't just kill a giant, he destroyed the curse of the Nephilim once and for all. But the battle didn't end with Goliath. There were more giants, more remnants of that cursed bloodline, but as David's victory proved, no matter how big the giants were, they could always be defeated. Through faith, through trust in the divine, humanity could overcome even the most monstrous of foes. The giants may have been born of the Watcher's rebellion, but they didn't represent the end of the world. They represented the test of humanity's faith, and the test of whether we would rise up and defend the light. What does this tell us? The giants are still here. They may not walk the earth in the same form, but the legacy of the Nephilim lives on. The dark forces they unleashed still roam, still seek to corrupt, still seek to destroy. But just like David, we can face these forces. We don't have to cower in fear. We don't have to be paralyzed by the giants in our lives, whether they're physical, emotional, or spiritual. The story of David and Goliath reminds us that through faith, through the power of God, we can defeat the giants that threaten to consume us. The legacy of the Nephilim is still with us. It's a reminder of the corruption that came before us, the evil forces that still seek to destroy. But it's also a call to action, a call to stand strong, a call to remember that no matter how big the giants are, we are never alone. With God by our side, the giants don't stand a chance. The story of the Nephilim and the giants is one of rebellion and restoration, of darkness and light, and it's a story that can still teach us today. The legacy of the giants is not a curse, it's a test. The giants are a reminder that we must stand tall, no matter how big the challenges are, and that with faith, with light, we can overcome anything. And just like David, we can conquer the giants once and for all. We live in a world that is filled with questions. Questions about our past, our future, and the forces that shape us. There are things we know, and things we will never know. Secrets that have been buried in time, and forces that have been hidden in the shadows for far too long. One such mystery lies in the story of the Nephilim, those monstrous giants, the offspring of fallen angels, whose legacy still haunts humanity today. And as much as we may want to push the past aside, this ancient tale is a reminder that the struggle between light and darkness is not just something that happened long ago. It's happening right now, in the world we live in. Every day, we fight unseen battles. The giants we face aren't always physical. Sometimes they are the darkness that tries to invade our hearts, the fear that paralyzes us, the temptations that threaten to pull us off the righteous path. But there is power in knowing that no matter how big the giants are, no matter how strong the darkness seems, we have a light inside us that can drive it all away. The story of the Nephilim isn't just one of giants and angels. It's a story of choices, of rebellion, and of the devastating consequences that come when we turn away from what is good, what is holy. It's a warning, one that speaks directly to us today, urging us to stay on the path and resist the pull of those things that would lead us astray. But here's the truth. The giants are not invincible. The forces of darkness can be defeated. There is a power that is greater than anything we face. And that power, my friends, is faith. It is trust in God's light to guide us through the darkest days. It's the strength we find in each other, in the community of believers, and in the truth that no matter how strong the enemy is, we are stronger together. When David stood before Goliath, he didn't see a giant who was unbeatable. He didn't see a creature who was too powerful to fall. No, David saw what others didn't. He saw the power of faith and God's grace at work in his life. He saw that the true battle was not fought with swords or shields. It was fought with the strength of the soul, the courage of conviction, and the unwavering belief that light will always overcome darkness. And that's the message I want you to take away from this today. No matter how impossible the battle may seem, no matter how large the giants in your life, you are equipped to overcome. Faith, hope, and love are weapons that the giants cannot defeat. Just like David, you have God on your side, and with that, you are unstoppable. Your giants will fall, and the darkness will flee in the face of God's light. If this video has touched your soul, if it has brought you even a little bit closer to understanding the divine purpose in your life, or if it has helped you find the light in the midst of the darkness, I ask you to consider showing a little support. Every bit of energy you give, every word of encouragement, and every like or subscription is a gift that helps me continue sharing the truth and wisdom of God's Word. If this video has made a difference for you, or if you believe in spreading this message of light, I encourage you to give just a small part of that energy back. It's not about donations. It's about building a community of faith that can face any giant, that can stand tall no matter what the world throws our way. Every comment you leave, every share, every simple act of kindness is a piece of this spiritual army that's being built one person at a time. Together we can face the darkness, and together we will defeat it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this journey with me. Your support, your encouragement, and your belief in this message of hope are what make everything worth it. The giants will try to come for us. They will test us. But as long as we stand firm in faith, as long as we remember the lessons of the past, and as long as we keep God's light in our hearts, we will always overcome. Keep fighting, keep believing, and never forget that no matter how dark it gets, the light will always shine through. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad we could walk this journey together. God bless you all.